This story is entitled The Shadow Man, written by Phoenix Fire. This story is also loosely based off true events. Darkness. Pitch black, ice-cold darkness. I have seen it now for quite some time. That night was the first time since I woke up that I realized that my room was freezing cold and darker than normal. I rolled onto my back and looked around in confusion. It was so damn dark. So pitch black dark. But I could see. It was all so clear. I looked around, still groggy from my sleep aid. There was a cabinet, a queen-sized wooden bed with a wooden nightstand next to it, a dresser with a mirror attached, and a small chair in the corner of the room. All of it felt unusual, yet so familiar. Out of nowhere, there he sat, the Shadow Man. I could see him sitting in the small chair in the corner of the room towards the foot of the bed. He opened his eyes and stared at me. He had short black hair and a pale face. He wore a black coat with a red collar and a black shirt underneath. He looked at me with luminous, penetrating red eyes and growled,
"Hello there. Would you like to leave?"
I froze. What did he say? Did he just ask if I wanted to leave? I remained quiet. He stood up and walked toward me. I was petrified. The fear held me prisoner under the covers as he approached me. Panic struck me like a bolt of lightning as my heart began to race. It felt like it was going to beat right out of my chest.
"If you would like to leave, speak now,"
he blustered in a baritone, hair-raising, cadaverous voice. Whatever he was, it wasn't human. "Who the fuck are you? What do you want from me?" I managed to stammer out. My breathing became labored. I was sweating so much I felt glued between the blanket and the mattress. An evil grin uncoiled across his pale face as his eyes narrowed into slits. He let out a low growl that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand at end. Long, blood-stained, razor-sharp teeth spilled over his black lips.
"Do you want to leave?"
he boomed. His voice echoed through the room so garishly, the walls shook. I was trembling so bad I felt like I was going to piss myself. The covers were going to pulverize my ribs at any moment now, it seemed. "Yes, I want to leave. Let me out of here," I finally screamed. My head began to dizzy, and I felt like I was going to pass out. My heart felt like it was going to burst. He ripped the covers back, grabbed my ankle, and dragged me out of bed. I was completely stiff with fear. Every muscle felt paralyzed. I could do nothing but helplessly watch from within my own body. My body hit the wall as my head thudded like a rock against the floor. The force of which I was being dragged seared a friction burn right into my back. Why couldn't I move? My vision was blurred from the sweat and tears in my eyes. Rattling. I think I hear rattling. The ringing in my ears was so loud it was hard to determine what was happening. I think he was opening a strange door that I didn't recognize. I felt a rush of bitterly cold air sweep over me, and I was yanked even harder through a doorway.
"You wanted to leave. Now's your chance. I will give you until the count of 3. Get up and run."
My body slammed into the ground, knocking the air out of me as he let me go. His footsteps were loud and heavy as he sauntered away from me, back into my apartment. I couldn't sit upright. My body was still paralyzed as I gasped for air. I looked up through blurred, teary vision and saw his shadow creeping back toward me. I arched my neck backward so I could peer behind me. A cloud of pitch-black darkness quickly washed over me. I faintly heard him growling.
1, 2.
I felt myself slip from consciousness. Flashing lights. Bright, flashing lights. My head pounded and the deafening ring in my ears began to subside as I finally came to. Whoa, take it easy. Just lay still and try not to take it too fast, came a voice that I didn't recognize. What? Where am I? I asked. You're laying outside your front door. We heard screams and loud banging. It woke us up and we came over to see if you were okay. How did you end up out here? Is everything all right? As my vision finally focused, I recognized the voice talking to me. My neighbors were standing over me with flashlights. A look of fear and concern stamped their faces. Is he gone? Did you see him? I said as I slowly sat up and held my throbbing head. See who? There's no one here but you. You're soaking wet and it's freezing out here. Do you need to go to the hospital? My neighbors asked. The tall, pale man with red eyes, he was just here, I grunted. The feeling in my body came rushing back as I began moving my legs to stand up. Tall man with red eyes? What are you talking about? There's no one here but you and us. Are you sure you're okay? Maybe we should call the police. No, I'm fine. I must have hit my head a little too hard. I'll be okay. Thank you for coming over and checking on me. I'll take it from here. The neighbors helped me to my feet, and I told them goodnight as they ushered me back into my apartment. I turned the lights on and saw wet streaks along the floor that trailed through the hallway. I limped back to my bedroom and noticed the bedding crumpled on the floor. I plucked the pillows and blankets from the floor and made my bed. I sat on the edge of my bed trying to recollect what happened. My head was throbbing so bad, all I wanted to do was get some rest. I lay down and instantly slipped back into slumber. As I awoke the next morning, a sharp pain shot through my back. What in the hell happened last night? I felt like I had been beaten down with a sack of bricks. I shook the fogginess from my head and started my day. That evening, when I returned home, I took one of my trazodones so that I could get a peaceful night's rest. The sleep drug rapidly set in and I finally drifted off. Sometime during the night, I rolled over onto my back. I felt an ice-cold breeze sweep over me. My eyes shot open to an eerie, pitch-black darkness. I began to panic. From the foot of my bed, I heard a deep, sinister voice snarl.
Would you like